Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Pascal National High School teachers and administrators. Welcome to this professional development. It's called Action Research and Innovation Proposal. Today is December 9th, 2021. It's Thursday in the morning. And later on, we're going to see each other via Zoom. Um, all right, so before anything else, let me introduce myself. I will be your guest speaker for today, and I hope that everything will be clear to you as you start making your own action research in your school. All right, I am Joseph T. Reculio. I am here at Scotland High School as an English teacher in the United States. Um, this is going to be my fourth year of teaching here in this foreign land, and it's not easy. Anyway, okay, so I have been in the academy for like 17 years, from 2006 to 2013. That's 8 years from Pateros Catholic School. I mean, in Pateros Catholic School, and then afterwards, 2013 to 2018. That is in a public school system in Makati City. All right, so we're going to talk today in this professional development about action research and innovation proposal. So we will start our seminar, our session with this goal, all right, so that we will be guided, and I hope that we can measure this towards the end of our session. All right, with better than 95% accuracy, participants will understand the definition of action research. So I got some multiple definitions of action research from different sources. The relevance of conducting it, why is it's important? We should also determine its parts because it's different from traditional research and action research. Identify the advantages and its key characteristics. What's the importance? What is the advantage of conducting a research, an action research? And we will also identify its key characteristics. And of course, lastly, innovation of action research title proposal. So I'm expecting that you will get 95% of that understanding. Okay, so we'll have our essential questions. There are 6 essential questions that we need to understand and answer. Number 1, what is an action research? So we'll be talking about the definitions of it. Why is it important to conduct an action research? What is relevant in our school system, in our school? How does an action research improve the quality of teaching and learning instruction in the classroom? Why do we need to conduct that? Do we need to improve the quality? Do we need to change? What are the advantages of action research? What is its advantage in school, to your parents, of course to yourself and to your students? What are the key characteristics of action research? What are the characteristics and how to conduct an action research? What are the steps and how to do that? All right, so let us start with some definitions of action research. Okay, according to Mills in 2000, action research is a systematic inquiry done by teachers or other individuals in educational setting. This other individuals in educational setting is specified by Mills in his 2010 definition, which will be our next definition. To gather information about and subsequently improve the way how their particular educational setting operates, how they teach, and how well their students learn. So they pronoun they and their pertains to teachers. Now let us extract some important, key words. Let's have systematic. So when you say systematic, it is a procedure in order for us to have an order of everything that we do. So there's a system that we need to follow. And of course, inquiry, because you need to investigate what are needed to be investigated. What are these? problems that you encounter and face in your daily dealings with your students in order for them to learn. And of course, it has their individuals in an educational setting. Who are these aside from teachers? Of course, it involves later on it involves the principal, the administrators, the counselor, of course. And we need to gather information about our students' problems in the classroom. In that way, we can improve some of our practices, some of our operations, some of our routines that we need to do. Okay, so another definition, just like what I told you by Mills in 2011, he specified who are these other individuals in the educational system. So it's the same thing. In action research, it's a systematic inquiry conducted by teachers and now included administrators, counselors, or others with vested interest in teaching and learning process or environment for the purpose of gathering information about how their particular schools operate, how they teach, and how their students learn. So that was a modification by Mills. Another definition by Wordsworth. Okay, so action research is a process in which participants examine their own educational practices systematically and carefully using the techniques of research. So when we say process, we have there the steps. So we will understand what are the steps that we need to follow in order to examine our educational practices. So these educational practices has been done by all of us teachers. We just have to identify which is the problem and which is the one that we can be used in our daily teaching, learning, instruction. It involves all parties in actively examining together current action in order to change and improve. So why do we need to conduct research? That is to change something that is not vital in our teaching, learning, instruction. It aims to be active team research by and for those who could be of help. So meaning it can only be done not just you yourself. It can be done like that, but you can have a team research composing your colleagues, your administrators, and your counselor. That's according to Wordsworth in 1998. Okay, another definition of action research. Action research, a collaborative activity among colleagues undertaken in a school setting, is a reflective process that allows inquiry and a discussion in searching for solutions to everyday and real-life problems experienced in school or looking for ways to improve instruction and increase students' achievement. It also allows practitioners to address those concerns which exhibit some influence and make a change. Look at that. The reason why we're doing this because we need to improve instruction and our students' achievement. It should be increased and that we should make a change. All right? That's our goal. We should make a change. Okay? And that is collaboration among colleagues. Just like what I told you, this is a team research. Therefore, it can be done by your colleagues, with your principal, or with your guidance counselors. Another definition of action research is, according to Spencer in 2018, action research is an approach to educational research that is commonly used by educational practitioners, and we are the educational practitioners and professional to examine and ultimately improve their pedagogy and practices. It represents an extension of the reflection and critical self-reflection that an educator employs on a daily basis in their classroom. So we encounter several problems, especially nowadays, that students are into cellular phones. How can we prevent them from using their cell phones inside the classroom? these disruptive students, out of focus students. There are a lot of misbehavior. These tardy students, these absentees. There are a lot of problems that we encounter in school or in the classroom. And with that, we should examine our pedagogies and our practices in order for us to improve our instruction. Okay? That's according to Spencer in 2018. When we say approach, this is a particular manner of taking such steps. Next, let's have another definition by Swantz in 2001, page 1. Action research is a part of a larger concept of knowledge that has been characterized as a quest for life, to understand life, and to create knowledge which is valid for the people. So look at that, quest for life. So when we quest for life, we're looking for particular problems, and we should understand and get its solution in order for us to create a new knowledge that is valid. So when we say valid, that should be understood and accepted by all. It should be under, it undergoes with a certain process, a certain examinations and investigation. Okay, another, we have there purposes. Why do we need to conduct an action research? What's the importance of conducting an action research? So action research is a method that enables and supports educators in pursuing effective pedagogical practices by transforming the quality of teaching decisions and actions to subsequently enhance student engagement and learning. So our keywords here is effective pedagogical practices, and that transforms the quality of teaching and decisions and actions for us to enhance students' engagement and learning. The reason why we do this because we need our students to learn something. We need to change from the problem that has been a routine among our students. And we cannot deny the fact that all of us have a lot of problems. Well, in the United States, it's a different problem, of course, because students here are very liberated, lack of respected teachers, and that's it. And a lot more, okay? Action research is, that's it, and then these are the another purposes of action research, specifically by Cauchy, 2010. That's on page 1 and 2. It improves educational practices, just like what I told you, all right? So if you do conduct action research, you find solution to the problem, it will improve educational practices. It involves participation and collaboration, participation between teachers and students or among your colleagues when you collaborate, okay? So when you do action research, it can be done by a group of people. It's not only one person, but you can do also one person. Develops reflection practices based on interpretations. So whatever is interpreted in your data, it should be reflected and therefore create a certain solution to the problem. And with that being said, it also creates knowledge through action and application. Okay. Because you need to conduct a research, you should apply what is the result. If the result is good, then you should apply it. And if it's not, you have to change a certain strategy that is being used. Applies problem solving if the solution to a problem results is the improvement of the, that's what I told you, okay? If the solution to the problem improves the practices or the routine that we do, then keep going and continue doing that. But if it's not, change the strategy. Implement plans that leads to reflection and revisions. So you should have a plan after making or creating. Well, a plan is part of the action research, by the way. Finds action to develop conclusive and absolute results. So we can only do that when we analyze and interpret our data. Okay, so what are the advantages of action research? Okay, so there's are the advantages. What are the advantages? Number one, it focuses on school issue. You cannot go beyond. It should be in the school issue, like the classroom. Problem of area of collective interest and sets a specific context or situation for the classroom. So you only need to do that in the classroom. And I believe, so since we are the master in the classroom, we are, oh, we are the ones responsible for the improvement, for the instruction, so we know what are the problems that arise. It is composed of researchers who are participants. We are the participants that they do not have to be distant or detached from the situation. Yes, because we know it has been our practice every day, so we are connected with it. It creates collegial interactions and improves communications. So collegial with your colleagues, with your co-teachers, you can work in that. And it also improves communication because you will share several practices among yourselves. Forms the teacher's professional development. Okay, why? Because when you conduct research, you will learn something from it. It's only in our professional development. There are a lot of forms of professional development, like attending seminars. This one is actually a professional development. When you take tests, when you answer surveys, when you attend seminars, when you do action research, when you self-reflect of the problem and make or create a solution to that, that is also a professional development. It involves continuous evaluation and modification, which can be made easily as the paper progresses. So this action research is a quarterly basis, meaning to say you can do some action research like 4 times in a year, as long as it has at least a 3 months period, because you're able to get already the data of your students, and after getting them is your interpretation. It allows opportunities for theory to emerge from the research rather than always follow a previously formulated theory. That is why action research is dynamic, which means that it can be, this action research can be changed. I mean, the strategies that you've used, which are not effective, can be changed and altered in order for you to arrive a particular desired result. Has potential to impact school change. All right, we have there the word change. Okay, so it creates change to our practices. Okay, and it reflects on one's practices. All right. Next to that is the key characteristics of action research. Now, what are these key characteristics? Number one, a practical focus. We're going to go ahead and tackle this one by one. It is an educators, researchers' own practices, collaboration, dynamic process, a plan of action, and sharing research. So let's start with number one, practical focus. So a problem that will have immediate benefits for a single teacher, that's you in a classroom setting, the school and the communities. Okay, so there is a practical problem that you need to solve by you, and it can be done by several colleagues having the same problems, okay? Have encountered the same problems. So your focus is the problem that existed in your classroom. What do you think? And what is the immediate benefit once you get a certain result of this problem? Number two, we have study of the educators, researchers' own practices. Self-reflective research by the educator researchers turns the lens on their own educational classroom, school, or practices. Everybody has his or her own practice. Everybody has experienced his, her own problems. But most of us teachers, in a way that we need to solve the certain problems in a classroom or school, we need to make self-reflection. When you say self-reflection, what do you think that needs to be improved in your teaching, learning, instruction? Okay? Next, collaboration. So you need to collaborate. Just like what I told you, it can be collaborated with teachers, staff, administrators, parents, community stakeholders, and of course, students. So it's a collaboration among all these. And we have a dynamic process, just like what I told you. It is a spiraling back and forth among reflection, data collection, and action. So if your data is does not reach the desired result, so you should have to reflect on a particular strategy again, make another strategy, and put it into action. It does not follow a linear pattern. So a linear pattern because it is spiraling back. So it goes to and fro. And it does not follow a causal sequence from the problem to action. So whatever is the cause of this problem, it has a different cause with a particular problem. So you should not focus on that thing. Next, a plan of action. Okay, so the action researcher develops a plan of action. So what's going to be your plan? What's going to be your action after identifying the problem, after gathering information and data, after interpreting, after analysis, what's going to be your plan of action? Formal or informal? Your plan of action can be formal or informal, and it involves a few individual or an entire community. So, and it may be presenting data or stakeholders, establishing a pilot program, or exploring new practices. Now, this time let's have sharing research. So to whom are you going to share your research? Of course, to those groups of stakeholders, to local schools, educational personnel, local or state individuals, and not specifically interested in publication, but in sharing with individuals or groups who can promote change. That is the purpose of sharing your research. What might be applicable to you might also be applicable to others. Okay, so there's a change that we need to have. The end goal is change. Now, steps in action research. So these are now the steps in action research. Action research is different from traditional research, the one that you're doing in a master's degree, in your dissertation, because action research is different from that. Okay? So what are these 6 steps? The first thing that you should do, since you are the master or the captain in your classroom, you should identify a problem or a focus or area. What is the problem of your students? Okay? After that, you have to collect and organize your data. And we will tackle this one at a time later on our next succeeding slides. Interpretation and analysis of data. When we analyze and interpret, we do not need any statistical treatment, unlike in the traditional research that we will have. We do not need statistical treatment because our data from a related review of literature based on your variables and from your students will only be a narration of what is happening and what is going on. So interpretation and analysis is just narration of your problem, of your variables, of your students' learning, progress, and development. And then afterwards, you have to make an act on your evidence. So application of your strategies, what are the evidence that you have? And you need to evaluate the results after creating or acting in evidence. Then after that, you have to develop an action plan. Okay, let's talk this one by one. But before that, let us have this one. So these stages. Actually, it's the same thing, but these stages will be followed as well. So from the planning stages, you need to identify and limit the topic. So later on, I will give you some examples of a particular topic that you need you want to study or to do. Next, after that is gathering information, reviewing of related literature of the variables that you use, developing an action plan. That is for the planning stage. For the action stage, you have to collect and analyze your data. And for the developing stage, you have to create an action plan. And for your reflecting stage, you have to share and communicate the results to your colleagues and reflect on a particular process. Okay. Next. So let's talk it one by one. Identify a problem. So what are the criteria that we need to identify a problem? Be a higher order question. Okay, you need to ask a higher order question. It should not be closed-ended. It should be hot. Okay? Yes, not yes, no question, but the WH question. Why is my students like that? Why do we have to like that? How can I solve? Next, number 2, be stated in a common language, avoiding jargon. The reason why you make research, action research, is to be understood and to create a certain solution to the problem. It's not impressing anybody else by using highfalutin language or words or even jargons. Okay? So make sure that the language that you use is understood by common guys. So in creating your title or identifying your problems, what are it comprises the who, the what, the when, and the where. Okay? Be meaningful. Categorize your or prioritize your problems, like which problem that needs a priority, a particular or an immediate solution. Meaning to say, it has been chronic in your classroom and not already have an answer, of course, because you have to conduct a research for that. Gather data. So there are multiple sources. This is where you can get your review of related literature and your data with your students as well. So where can we get it? We can have it in interviews, portfolios, diaries, field notes, journals, individual files, logs of meetings, questionnaires. So these are somehow in connection with your students' participation, because you need to understand. You should get what are these important sources, and these can be from your students. We have anecdotal records, case of study, service records, self-assessment, and sample of student work, projects, and performances. And with that being said, that's also your way of interpreting and analyzing your data. Okay, so analyze and identify major themes. What's going to be the major themes? What's going to be the major focus, major problem? Quantify data without the use of statistical or technical assistance, so you don't need to do or to use statistics. Summarize data such as opinions, attitudes, or checklists checklist in a tabular presentation or format, and review data that are quantifiably holistic and important elements or themes can be noted. So that's how you interpret and analyze your data. So act of evidence that you need to consider. Design a plan of action that will allow the researcher to change and to study that change using the information from the data collection and review of current literature. This is really helpful in creating your design solution or plan, in designing your solution or plan. Continue to document and collect data on performances. That is why it entails one period or quarter period, because you need to continue the documentation and collection of students' performances. And we have evaluate the results, assess the effects of the intervention to determine if the improvement has occurred. So you have to assess the effects using a particular strategy. What do you think is the effect of your intervention to solve the problem or improve the setting? If there is an improvement, provide the supporting evidence, and there is none, make some changes to the action to elicit better results. That's what I'm telling you. Guide, okay, those are the key characteristics. Now let's proceed to the guide questions. What was my concern? So what do you think is the concern in your classroom? Is it absenteeism? Is it lack of interest? Is it disruptive behavior? Is it slow reader? And among others. Why was I concerned? Why are you concerned with that? Is it going to be to change your routine to help your students? And what could I do? What should you do? And what could you do in order to solve the problem? What could help me? All right? What could help you? And what did I do to solve the problem? And how can I evaluate your work? How do you evaluate your work? Okay, so these are examples of action research topics. Number 1, flexible seating arrangement. So we have several seating arrangement in 4th grade classroom to increase collaborative learning. So there are several seating arrangements. Which do you think gives the student an interest and motivation to learn? Structured homework protocols for increasing student achievement, developing a system for formative feedback. Okay, what do you think is that system? Is it going to be diaries, journals, for 8th grade writing, or shall I say correcting their written activities or reading assignments? Using music to stimulate creative writing. Is it effective if you play music while students are writing? Does it make a creative writing? Does it help students to write? Using exercise balls as chairs for better classroom management. So nowadays, a lot of students or kids are disruptive. So do you think exercise balls are a helpful tool to increase students' interest in the class? So I have here a sample studying the effects of timeout. So our variables are the effects of timeout, students' disruptive behavior, and single subject experiment. So Ms. Wong, a 3rd grade teacher, finds her class continually interrupted by a student who can seem to keep quiet. Distressed, she asked herself what she can do to control these students. This is already the reflection, and wonders if some kind of time-out activity might work. Accordingly, she asked if brief periods of removal from class decrease the frequency of these students' disruptive behavior. which we do as well sometimes. What might Miss Wong do to get an answer to her question? This sort of question can be answered by means of a single subject ABAB design. First, Ms. Wong needs to establish disruptive behavior. What are those? She has to identify this disruptive behavior students. She should observe the students carefully over a period of several days, charting the frequency of how many times the students are disruptive. Once she has established a stable pattern of the student's behavior, she should introduce the treatment in this instance. Time out or placing the students outside the classroom for a brief period of time for several days and observe the frequency of the student's disruptive behavior after the treatment periods, and she then should repeat the cycle. So at this point, she is now gathering that. Okay, after observation, she's now gathering that. Okay, and then ideally the student's disruptive behavior will decrease and Ms. Wong will no longer need to use a timeout period with this student. So after several days that the student is experimented, then we could say that the timeout in Ms. Wong's class is effective to eliminate disruption in the class interaction. Now, what are these outline of action research reports? So we have to have your area of focus, meaning the problem, related literature. Then you have to define what are these variables that you use, and that should be defined in your related review of literature. Research questions, what do you think are the questions that you need to answer as you go along in conducting your action research? Description of the intervention. We have data collection. What's going to be your intervention? Just like Ms. Wong, her intervention is time out. Then while she's doing that, she is collecting data and analyzing them as well. Then after that, act on evidence. What are the evidences that you have? You have to show and present your evidence to validate your analysis and interpretation. Then you have to evaluate results. Is it effective or not? If not, make a change, do another strategy. If it's effective, then create, just go and continue doing it. And lastly, create an action plan. Next, 10 guidelines for teachers that you need to adhere and remember. Number 1, locate, listen to and articulate your inner voice. So you have to think, what's the problem? Practice reflection in action, on action, and about action. Develop a risk-taking mentality. This requires a lot of time. So you have to give your time, and it will be a risk because you don't have time for your to your friends, to your family, to even yourself, because you are devoted to finish your action research. Trust the process as well as people. That's very important. Appreciate the total person of working with colleagues. Commit to working with colleagues. So once you decide to do it, you should finish it till the end or to the last drop of your breath. Just kidding. To the last minute of the completion of your action research. Redefine your role to extend beyond the classroom, okay? And push and support principals and other administrators to develop interactive professionalisms. Commit to continuous improvement and perpetual learning, and monitor and strengthen the connection between your development and students' development. This is also correct. Next, what are your 10 coping strategies? Don't give up. Of course, once you've started, don't give up. Be motivated, be encouraged, because you need to make a change. And that can only be done if you do an action research. Enlist the help of colleagues. So you have to recognize your colleagues. Keep a positive attitude. In order for you to finish and complete your action research, stay positive. Everything will be solved. Be prepared to compromise. What are the things that you need to compromise? Your time with your family, your time for yourself, and other things. Be generous of your time to your students. Extend help. Go public. Okay, so you have to inform everyone or discuss this to your colleagues. Join a local action research group. It will help you. If this is going to be your first professional development about action research, there are some topics that I have not discussed. If you want to learn a lot more, you have to attend more seminars on action research. Another way, you can also read a lot of things. Establish a reputation for success. Claim it that you can be successful in making your action research. Publish reports in journals. Now in Makati, they have these journals for teachers, and then because creating an action research is a competition in Makati, so a lot of teachers are creating or making an action research because it's really helpful to all teachers, not just to the teacher who is conducting an action research, but also to all. So they usually publish the action research reports in the journals. Have faith in your own knowledge. All of us are knowledgeable. We cannot become teachers if we are not knowledgeable of ourselves. So we should believe that we can do it. We can and we will be doing it. Okay. And then before I leave and finish this talk, I just want to leave you a statement by Hayes in 2010. Good teaching is not accident. All effective teaching is a result of study, reflection, practices, and hard work. A teacher can never know enough about how a student learns, what impedes the student's learning, and how the teacher's instruction can increase the student's learning. Professional development is the only means for teachers to gain such knowledge. The students will learn more if their teachers regularly engage in high-quality professional development. That's according to Hayes in 2010. You know what? In the United States here, we have this monthly professional development. It's going to be a whole day professional development with several topics being discussed. And it helps us a lot. Okay, so probably if your district or your division could not give you professional development, it can be done by your principal. What are important professional developments that you need to understand and to undergo? Just like classroom management, multiple intelligences, and a lot more. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. I hope that you enjoy and learn something from me today. I think we're going to have a Zoom meeting later on, and see you there. I'm waiting for the link of the Zoom meeting to be sent by Laura Bell, Julia, my best friend, who happens to invite me on this talk. And I hope, guys, that you learned something, and I will be looking forward to see several of you writing an action research. When I was in the Philippines, when I was in the public institution, when I finished my master's, I started editing some researches and also action researches. So I hope that you guys can also create yours maybe the principal would give an incentive to those teachers who can who can make an action research, or or your division, your district, okay? Because that's gonna be, action research really is a helpful strategy that improves the teaching and learning instruction. In that way, also, you can make a change in your daily routine. All right, thank you very much. And this has been Joseph Reculio saying, God bless to all of you and have a safe day ahead.